everyone, and welcome to another filmmaker interview. I've got with me here some really fantastic members of the team from Promises of Snow. But before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that Prize Fest is coming up on September 30th through October 2nd. But Film Prize is just one part of Prize Fest, which is happening September 24th through October 2nd. So be sure to go to prizefest.com, check out all the prizes, check out all the artists, and check out all of the projects that they've been working on all year so that you're prepared to come down to Prize Fest and enjoy it to the most. Also, as a reminder that Prize Fest is an event that will require either a proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test within 72 hours of your arrival at the festival to gain entry. So please be sure you're planning that as you are buying your tickets. And last reminder there is that we do have an online film prize screening option. So all 20 films will be showing at prizefest.com during the festival, and you'll be able to vote on the films as well. So if you'd like to do that, you can't make it in, or would rather not quite come out yet, that option is available to you. All right, without further ado, I want to dive right in and let's welcome the team from Promises of Snow. We'll start with Matthew Ramstar. Matthew, why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself and the film?
Hey, yeah, my name is Matthew Ramsaur. I am the director and one of the producers on the film. Promises of Snow is a film about human trafficking, and it's about a young girl who gets caught up in sex trafficking and is met by a lady named Olivia. And as they're talking to each other, they eventually realize that they have a familiar past to each other.
Absolutely. Let's jump over to Christina. Christina, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you did on the film?
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Chalakin, and I saw Matthew's crowdfunding campaign that he launched for Promises of Snow, and I quickly jumped on board as an executive producer, and I play the character Olivia Joe.
Fantastic. Chad, why don't you jump in there?
My name's Chad Hill, and I'm the writer of this film. Matt brought this idea and this concept to me to potentially collaborate on shortly after Film Prize 2019. Me and him go way back. We've worked on several projects together, and so I've worked with him on writing before.
Fantastic. Great to see that collaboration. And Marlene, why don't you jump in there as well?
No, I play Sasha. I was brought in by Christina, and I'm the starring role of Promises of Snow.
Awesome. So now you've learned the names and the roles of everybody who is a part of this Zoom call today. But I want to jump in and kind of talk about the origin story behind this project. I know we've got a little bit of a taste of it through how it got developed with the crowdfunding and that sort of thing. But why don't you, Matthew, start off of why is this story one that you wanted to tell? Where did it all come from?
Yeah, a couple years ago, I got asked to make a trafficking PSA for an organization, and we got a crew together, made the film, and nothing happened with it. And so I had finished Stiff Arm, and I was like, this is my last one. I'm doing Film Prize. I'm in North Carolina, and I just felt like there could be something else to further this PSA where we could make this into a full-length short film, and it could be premiered at film festivals and start off maybe with Film Prize and launch that into getting seen by so many people, because sex trafficking is a real thing in today's world, and it deserves to have a voice and really show what's happening there. And I just had this idea of where you could somehow bridge together showing victims who are in it and victims who have moved past it but are still going through traumatic past. And so me and Chad collaborated on a story and kind of came up with the idea there.
Right, and that's actually a great segue. Chad, why don't you talk about the screenwriting process, how the characters were developed, and how you kind of chose to introduce each of these characters and their role in the film?
Yeah, so as long as I've known Matt, I felt like, even before he did the trafficking PSA that he mentioned, this was a topic that I felt was he was very passionate about. And when he brought this, Matt's always been really great about coming up with really interesting concepts, like high concept ideas for films. And he brought this one piece about this FBI agent who was investigating human trafficking and to me, and wanted me to help write it. And because of how sensitive a subject it was, I really kind of wanted to take some time to let the characters kind of gestate and to also do my research about how this goes, because Matt was also asking me to thread a little bit of a narrative needle with the film, that he had this great concept, but he also wanted it to, kind of like what he said, he wanted the film to be somewhat, to raise awareness, to be somewhat educational. And so I needed the information to be accurate. I really wanted to be able to feel these characters. And I felt like the focus for this film needed to be potentially on this one FBI agent and this victim of sex trafficking that is brought in, and particularly how that relationship is built in the span of this very small and intimate conversation. And that reveals so much about both of them and where they came from.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much. And speaking of those characters, I want to address our two actresses here. I want to learn a little bit about how you got to know the characters that you portrayed, and how you prepared to be on screen with such a challenging topic, and kind of bringing all the subtleties that are required to tell this story. And maybe we can start with Christina.
Oh gosh, so I actually spoke with a couple of victims of sex trafficking that I know. I actually worked with an organization called Freedom House when I was up in the Bay Area in San Francisco. It was a nonprofit that we regularly donated to. I also work for Salesforce. That's my tech job, my day job. And so I would frequently have fundraisers where we would raise money for Freedom House. And this is where not only victims of domestic violence go, but a lot of those victims of domestic violence, unfortunately, come from a sex trafficking background. So taking some of these women out to lunch, listening to their story, and just kind of letting them talk about the healing process is kind of that's kind of the inspiration that I pulled from in terms of putting Olivia Jo together, because I fortunately have never gone through anything like that in my own personal life. So really having those conversations with those sex trafficking victims, former victims, and seeing how they're thriving now really made an impact on me. And I definitely use that as inspiration, because Olivia Jo is thriving as an FBI agent, and she is just, she's the first on the scene. She knows what to look for. And so I had a blast diving into that world.
Absolutely. How about you, Marlon? What was that like?
Mine was a little different. Mine comes from personal experience. One of my sisters was actually a victim of sex trafficking. And just seeing the pain and everything she went through, and me being so young, not understanding, and then like growing up and then realizing like, wow, this is like, it's real. It kind of like made me look at like Sasha, like I have to really go into that environment and think like, wow, it's people out there that are really being hurt and they don't know who or anybody they can trust. So it was kind of like bittersweet for me. My sister, she's came a long way since, and I kind of like use her as my little platform to get Sasha to where she needed to be, to make her like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like to really bring out Sasha.
Absolutely.
I really use her. Yeah.
Well, I'm super, appreciative of the efforts that you guys have made to convey these stories in a way that's honest and that is sensitive to the material. So thank you for that research and effort. I know that it shines through on screen. I would love to turn to Matt and kind of talk about the on-set experience. I mean, obviously, this was filmed during 2021. It's a challenging year, no matter what time of year it was. Tell us a little bit about the production experience and what it was like getting the team together to make this project.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we originally were trying to make this film for last year's film prize, and like most people, COVID hit and we had to push, and we were going to try to do it in November for this year still, and that got pushed again. And it came January, and I was like, we got to do this. Like, this is a really powerful message. Like, this has to go out. And so we strapped in, made it happen, and shot in Ruston. And just bringing the crew together was mainly a lot of people I've worked with in the past. But the cast is always an area I like to kind of bridge out and find new people in. And so, as you heard a little bit ago about the way Christina approached me, Christina knew a lot of people as well, and she had a source through just the Bay Area of other actors. And I was like, hey, let's branch out. Let's go elsewhere than Louisiana, and let's try to bring some new faces to this film. And also because this might launch and premiere at Film Prize, and we can bring a new set of variety of faces here that have a different acting experience from the West Coast or Marlin in Arizona. And so the experience was, I mean, in my words, it was amazing. Is one of the most fun times I've had on a film, but also the most challenging I've ever done. We were able to get like a really solid cast and crew. We had some really solid equipment. We got to shoot on the Arri Alexa, and just really kind of structure the film in a way where it looks professional, but looks also very realistic, the best we can make it look, to really show what this, I guess, to show like when people watch it on screen that they're in that world and in there with them and really understanding what's actually happening here.
Absolutely. Now, Chad, were you able to be on set for this as well?
Unfortunately, I wasn't. I wish I could have been, but at the time I had some concerns with regard to COVID. I felt like I had an exposure risk, and I wasn't able to be on set.
That's totally understandable. I'm glad that you recognized that and were able to kind of take the precautions that you needed to take care of yourself. I wonder if I might be able to get some on-set comments from Christina and Marlin, if you guys just want to jump in, whoever would like to go first.
I would say it was very different. This was my actual first time on a set, and I was nervous. I was nervous overall. I had just found out I was 1 month pregnant, and it was very different, especially with all my emotions racing through my body and just being nervous that like maybe I'll mess up. But everybody was just so encouraging and so fun and friendly. And I think if I didn't have the cast and crew that I had, I probably would have had a different outlook on like jumping in. But everybody was very reassuring and very positive. So it was awesome.
Right on. How about you, Christine?
Just in terms of logistics, we had our a formal COVID, like COVID protocol person, who made sure to take temperatures. She had hand sanitizer. She made sure that we were, safe. We wore masks, in between, shooting. And even our craft services were like individually packaged, little things like that. So we did try to take precautions to make sure that if people are, donating their time to come help us with this project, we want to make sure that they're going to be safe, and we want to make sure that they feel comfortable. So that was really great. I just love how our crew got involved too. I don't know if you may recognize a few people like Christine Chen, our first AD. She jumped in, she played the cop, who took Marlin into the interrogation room, who, busted down the door, trying to get Dion. So it's just, it was so nice. And then one of our PAs, Jordan, jumped in. He was also a cop. And it was just really a film that brought everybody together. And I think that, what more could you ask for from
Yeah, well, that's to me the joy of making films, especially in a community of people that loves what they do, and in some cases have worked together before, is that kind of camp feeling of getting everybody together and everybody kind of pitching in. That's certainly the independent spirit that we love to celebrate here at Film Prize. And speaking of Film Prize, I know that Matthew, you said you had this film in mind for Film Prize kind of from the outset. But as we're kind of going through the festival and you have kind of people coming out of the theater, and it's hard not to overhear a little bit about what they're talking about. And let's imagine for a moment that they're talking about Promises of Snow. And of course, it is a topic that there's a lot to discuss about. But if I'm thinking about beyond the subject material itself and thinking about the film and the performances, which are fantastic, what do you hope that they are talking about the most when they are walking out of the theater?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've actually thought about this before, just from having that experience with previous films at Film Prize. And I think for this one, I would want to overhear maybe what their impact was, or what caught them off guard, or like, oh, I've never thought about, human trafficking like that. Or I just never really realized, I've heard it was a thing, but I guess just things about stuff that we already know, but beyond our knowledge, that is talked about more often.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be great to have that, as you said, that elevation of the conversation about the topic that includes some of the things that you have introduced in this film to people that may not have thought about it more deeply than reading a news headline.
Right.
So I would love to, as we're kind of getting toward the end of our time together, to kind of think about that moment of zen as we are entering the awards ceremony at the end of the festival, and a giant check is brought up on stage covered by a cloth, and that cloth is ripped back, and the words "Promises of Snow" are written on the front of the check. What is it that's going through your mind, and what do you do with that $25,000?
Going through my mind is, honestly, if we win, I'm more excited about us winning than money, because the fact that we have won means that this is going to get seen even more now. That the whole point of this film is a message, and that we can say that we've won and kind of use that as like an endorsement in a way. And we can talk to organizations, we can talk to other festivals, we can talk to streaming platforms, and just really have more of a chance at bridging that gap and getting this out there to people that need to see it. For what I do with the money is pay my investor back. But I mean, it's more about the title of winning versus the money for me, for this project especially.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to do a quick lightning round before we end our time together. I'm going to have Christina and Marlene and Chad each kind of give one thing that they would say to an audience member who, of course, the film speaks for itself as a story, as a reason why someone might want to vote for it. But if each of you were to pick one thing that you would tell the audience member to kind of push them over the edge to include this film on the ballot or in their number one position, what would it be? Let's start with Chad.
Well, oh gosh, you had to pick me first.
Sorry, it's
no, it's fine.
I have a penchant for like taking the one person who's not quite ready.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking there's a lot of ways that I guess conceiving of this film that I felt could have been sensationalized, and that was very much not what the intent that Matt had. That wasn't my intent with this film, where I wanted, I think it's important not just to show the realities of sex trafficking and human trafficking, but to also show that there is hope for a life beyond that situation if you find yourself in that situation. And I think that was one of the key things, guiding principles behind developing these characters, behind developing the whole story and the concept. And I feel like that's important.
That's
Absolutely.
a that's kind of a hard question too. I just, if you know somebody, or if you're scared to speak up if you're going through that situation, just know like you can trust somebody out there. Like the world's not always against you. It's somebody out there who's willing to help you. So if you took anything from Promises of Snow, just look at like Olivia and Sasha's relationship. Like Sasha really thought nobody was there, and she stepped in and gave her that little pinch of hope. Like, so yeah.
That's great. Christina, why don't you bring us home?
You know, the reason why I want to tell our audience to put Promises of Snow on the ballot is because every single day there is an injustice. Every single day there are horrible things that are happening. And we don't necessarily have the opportunity to get involved in any way. By putting Promises of Snow on the ballot, on their ballot, they're taking a stand and taking action and saying, this issue is an issue that is important to me. This issue is an issue that I want to get loud about, that I want to have more conversations around this topic about. So put Promises of Snow on the ballot. So instead of just sitting by and not really doing anything and just being like, oh, that's sad, and not doing anything, put it on your ballot and take action. Let's take action.
All right, that's a great way to end it. But of course, you know, the one thing that we do at the end of all prize events, we do a big Viva la Film prize, which we'll do all together on 3. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
Ready.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Viva
Viva
la
la Film Prize.
Do you like my drink?
Oh, it's great. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you all at Prize Fest. Go to prizefest.com, get those tickets. It's happening September 30th through October 2nd. We'll see you there.